Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm glad you're here. And 11:03 a.m., so it's still the morning time. My name is Melvin Coleman. Maybe one or two people unaware of that, but this is our MCAT webinar, and for many of you, you're familiar that MCAT, Marketing, Communications, Advertising, and Technology. So a pretty broad umbrella that encompasses a lot of the Chamber's mission and a lot of the members of the Chamber. So today we will be showcasing one of our members, and this is a critical topic that I think we all should be educated on. And so I am going to turn it over to the chair of the Marketing, Communications, Advertising, and Technology Committee, Miss Tamay Shannon. Tamay,
Hello.
good to see you this morning.
Yeah, good to see you.
Okay.
Hi,
Let's
everyone.
do it.
I'm so happy you came out, that you are on. I'm super excited about this particular webinar because if you don't know, now you know. Um, the internet and cybersecurity is super important, especially as a small business. It can be easy. Trust me, I've said it. It can be easy to say, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not Apple. Nobody wants my data. I'm not big enough. But that's the problem. That's precisely the problem, because Apple is big enough to handle a data breach. They got lawyers that can people to fix it. If you are a small business, it's probably you and maybe another person. So if something like that happens to your business, if somebody comes in and wreaks havoc, you're going to be spending a lot of time fixing that instead of servicing and getting new clients. So I'm super excited about this webinar to give you the tools so you don't have to spend that downtime. This is a monthly meeting we have with the ABC. And so if you are not a member, you should absolutely join the Atlanta Black Chambers. I will drop that link in the chat. And if you are a member of the Atlanta Black Chambers and you haven't heard of the MCAT committee, you should join us. If you are in marketing, advertising, communications, or technology, and you want to help us grow, you want to contribute to programming, you've got ideas that you want to see, go ahead and reach out to me. I would love to have you on the team. Now I'm going to pass this over to Lynette to get started. It's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tamay. Hello, everyone. Glad you're here. We're going to get started today. I'm going to share my screen. Help me out here. We're going to be interactive. Let's say that up front. I want us to not just be here and watching TV. I want you to be able to get something out of today. I want you to leave here with the knowledge of what you should do to not only protect your business, but yourself. Okay, let me know when you see the screen.
I see it.
And you should see full size now.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Okay, welcome everybody again. I am Lynette Furr with iCare Technology Geeks. And as you could see, the main subject for today is to get the heck out of here. What the heck, and let's get the heck out of here. Cybersecurity risk, what is it? You know, what do we do about them? How do we keep our businesses safe? How do we keep our clients' information safe? We want to speak about that today. So first thing I want to do is I want to ask you a couple of questions. Now, I oftentimes say we don't know what we don't know. And as you can see, this is a quote here by Socrates, you don't know what you don't know. So I want to have a couple of questions here for you up front. And if you could put it in the chat, hopefully you're not driving and you could be interactive and put it in the chat for me. So first question of the day, has anyone here today already been hacked, or you feel like you don't know if you've been hacked, or you feel like, I don't know what I don't know. But the first question is in the chat. I want you to tell me if you've been hacked. So put a 1 in the chat if you feel like you've been hacked. Put a 2 in the chat if you feel like you haven't. Or furthermore, what about someone who you know that's been hacked? I'd like someone to tell us, come on the mic here and let us know if you were hacked, what did you do to get it fixed? How long did it take? And how did it make you feel as you was going through this process? So Tracy says she's been hacked. And it was a fake hack for Bitcoin. Tamay, you said you haven't been hacked, but you have seen quite a few items. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay, no. So majority say no, some say yes. All right, so then the biggest question is I've been hacked as well. So let me just say that. So you may say, well, why does this matter? And if you've been hacked, who is Lynette? Well, I've been around this industry for quite a while, and 25 plus years or so. And what we want to do is find out, today, what does it entail? Why you need to know, what cybersecurity is, the overview of today's digital environment, unmasking the true risks of cybersecurity, and what should you do about it after you find out about it. Okay, so first question is what is it? In the chat, could you tell me what you think it is? Because I was assuming everybody knows what it is. And then I was talking to someone at a networking event sometime last year, and they were saying, well, we need someone to come and speak about PCI compliance. And I said, well, that's cybersecurity. They said, well, how's that? And so they didn't really know what cybersecurity was. So it made me think that we need to find out what really it is. What is it defined as? We have some people say, well, it's, protecting myself online. Okay, yes, absolutely. Protecting data and yourself online, and also your clients, right? That's the simplest way of putting it. I see others are saying that security infrastructure that maintains data and technology confidential. Yes, that's correct. So it's a holistic approach is what I want you to understand. And you don't just do one thing or, 5 things. There's multiple ways to figure out if you have had a breach and if cybersecurity is what it is and how do you keep it from taking your business and shutting you down. All right, so a little bit about myself. Been in business with this business since 2010 and been doing IT in one way or another, 25 plus years, living in Atlanta over 27 years. And one thing that I've learned when I was in college, University of Alabama graduate, Roll Tide. So one thing I learned is, to use some of the skills that I learned in college was to take some of the skills that they taught us was to figure out how to analyze different aspects of businesses and how to analyze networks, how to analyze computers. So within that, I've taken what I learned in college and used that now to help businesses to be successful and to, if they get hacked or when we get hacked, what do we do? How soon can you get back up and running? Things of that nature is very key and important. So overview of today's dirt. Now I have another pop quiz for you. What was the first computer device that you dealt with? Put the number in the chat. So, and we'll see what our crowd you know, how much you know, where you've been, how much you know about computers and what age. It'll tell your age a little bit. Okay, I see some are saying 2, some are saying 4. Okay, I would say I know about the 1, but I was more so around when 2 and 3 came about for myself. All right, so now as we know that we're in a digital world, and as Tamay mentioned, we have, you know, back in the day in the 2000s, all the way up to now, you know, back in the day we had the flip phone, then 2010, Apple launched the Retina display, 2015, Gates joined Smuck and expressing fear about AI. 2019, we talk about a little bit about the networks in America. 5G came into place, and as just about anybody that's on this earth should know, 2023, OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, came about. And so this is where we are. Everything we do is pretty much online nowadays, and so we need to know what we need to do to protect ourselves. So let's unmask some things about cybersecurity. Okay, so work with me here. If you were having a very long day and you persevere and you go work out and you come outside and you see this issue here, this car that's been attacked, that has been, somebody has vandalized it, broken into, and something has been stolen out of it. How would you feel if this was you? Put it in the chat for me, please. Violated, horrible, absolutely. So overall, you would feel like, you know, we won't say the word, you know, we'll keep it professional. What in the world is going on? Okay, so if you haven't guessed, this is something that I experienced. I felt like my world was coming to an end. I felt like I was just totally violated. I felt PTSD years later. Still, this bothers me. You never know when you may go back to your vehicle and see this. And so you say, well, what does this have to do with cybersecurity? Why are you talking to me about this? Well, with this, we can see what's going on. We can see that we have an issue. We could see that the car has been broken into. We could see that the remnants of the things that were stolen. I could see myself having to go through months of trying to get the things that were stolen replaced. One of the things that was stolen was my computer. And at the time, I didn't believe in, I was at a point where I felt like, well, you know, do I need to have things in the cloud? Well, after this incident, I made sure that all documents was in the cloud, Microsoft Cloud, Google Cloud, whatever cloud. I made sure of that because after this incident, I lost access to several of my documents, my data on it because I didn't have everything in the cloud. So there was no way for me to get access to some of the files that I lost. So that's one lesson I learned about that. And one lesson I also learned is we don't know what we don't know when it comes to, we could see this, but we don't know what we don't know when it comes to cybersecurity. So how do we know if we've been hacked? How do we know what's going on with our environment? That's my question of the day, and the reason why I say, you know, we want to figure out what does that look like. All right, so cybersecurity crimes, as we know, is always at a high. Ever since COVID, we're always having something in the news. You see right here, we have Fulton County, February of this year. Many people were hacked and affected. It's taking them still to this day, and we're now in June, and they're still trying to figure out what happened, how it happened, why it happened, and how do they prevent it from happening again. One of the biggest things is with the Fulton County, people couldn't go in there. They couldn't go in and pay their property taxes. They couldn't go in, and there were several things that they couldn't do. And they had a big sign on the door saying, hey, you know, we're down right now, you know, come back later. And so that was a big ordeal for us here in Atlanta, Georgia. Also, I'm pretty sure everybody by now should have heard about T-Mobile's recent hack and AT&T, the most recent of them. And everybody should have heard a little bit about what does that entail? What do you need to do? You should have gotten some documentation in the mail. Even myself, I haven't had anything to deal with AT&T since, I don't know, back 20 or 30 years ago. But I still got something in the mail saying that I needed to go in and check and reset some things and then sign up for their services. Because passcodes were taken, social security numbers was taken, email and mailing addresses, phone numbers, and birthday. So you may say, well, social security, that's really bad, right? Because usually online, you can't go and get that information unless, you're unscrupulous. You usually anything online that you can go and find when you just search is one thing, but then all of these other things put together, your passcodes, your social security number with AT&T hack alone, you should be able to make sure that you go immediately and do everything that they told you to do so that you could protect yourself from being out online. All right, I got another pop quiz for us. A lot of us, as Tamay mentioned, we say, well, are we, we are small businesses. Are we affected each day? Is there anything that we hear about all these larger companies, but what about the smaller companies? And you may say, well, how does this affect us? So first question I want to know from you is how many small businesses are affected by breaches each day? How many do you think? And while you're thinking about that, the second question is what percentage of breaches originate from inside a company? And then thirdly, what percentage of businesses are too small to need to be targeted? Okay, so we got 100%, 98%, 0. I'm seeing 30%. Okay, I thank you for participating. All right, here's the answer. 6,000 businesses, small businesses are affected by breaches every day. Yes, I agree with you, Lynette. Thanks for that. No business is too small. That's true. And 52% of breaches originate from the inside of the company. And we'll discuss what the inside of the company means in a little bit. Okay, so why is this happening? Data is valuable. So these bad actors, these people who their daily job is to get up and as we go to our job or our businesses and we work, to make sure that we have ways to take care of our households and take care of our business. Well, we go to a legitimate job, but there are people who are out there, bad actors is what we call them. And all they do is their job is to hack. Their job is to find out ways to figure out what data can they get from you and sell it in one way or another. And they come out on top. So what type of cybersecurity threats are there? Well, there are many. I'm sure you've heard of quite a few. We're only going to go over one or two the most today. And so I want to leave some time for questions at the end. And in addition to that, if you have a question as we go, please feel free to put it in the chat and you can come off of mute as well. So some of the main ones that we hear about the most are ransomware, phishing, smishing, quishing. You may not have heard of some of those, so we'll go over that a little bit more. Insider threats is what I mentioned earlier, and what we call a DDoS attack. So let's go about some examples of these. So when we say phishing, smishing, and quishing, phishing, how many people know what phishing is? What do you think phishing is? Most people have heard of phishing. Usually phishing, everybody says, oh, it's email, right? Asking questions to get an answer or information. Absolutely. So when we call that also social engineering. When someone calls you or texts you or email you trying to get certain information, we call that phishing, if you will. All right, so what I want to go over the most people have heard about phishing, and that's email attacks. So someone is sending you purposely an email trying to figure out if they can get some information from you in one way or another. And so with phishing, most people have heard of that. That's common. And as you see here at the top, the way to kind of determine if it's a phishing email is you want to look at the top. You want to see if this email looks correct. So I could be sending you an email and you know me, but if someone has hacked my email, then you won't think to look at the top. So if my email address is lfur@icaretechgeeks.com, for example, and you go in there and you see that address, but you didn't look to see that maybe it wasn't an L, maybe it was a 1 fur@icaretechgeeks.com. So you think that it's time for you to make a payment. I've sent you an invoice. And now what we've seen clients do, they'll click on it. And we've seen several clients to have to pay out, not our clients per se, but clients in general, the problems that they've had. They generally are clicking on items and thinking it's legit because it's coming from somebody that they know, and then they trust it. So what we always say is think before you click. Don't just click, think. And then if someone sends you an email and you think it's legit, just give a phone call right quick and find out if it's truly them before you go ahead, especially if it's involving paying invoices and collecting information. Smishing. Most people may have heard of it. It's SMS texting. So when you get a text message, we had several of them during, all of these things elevated after COVID. And then you might I get these as well. You get these fake IRS around tax season, while you'll get these things sent to you in your text and you'll have to block it, right? And so you want to make sure that if you're getting these texts and things of that nature, and also tell other people about the same thing that you're learning today so that they'll be educated as well. But what you want to do is just not click it. For the most part, when you're clicking on these different items, I get people, like I say, all the time, they're sending me information and they're saying, hey, go take a look at this video. Okay. And I call them first and I say, hey, did you send me something that you want me to look at? And they say, yes. I said, okay, well, I'll look at it. Other than that, I just don't assume that is legit. Quishing. Now, this is one that you may not have heard about. So quishing is basically QR code phishing. And what that is I can tell you where I want to say it was 2023, earlier part of the year, and it could have been a little bit before that. There was a news article or a news announcement on one of the news channels, and they said that, hey, Atlanta, we want you to be careful because when you're going and paying your parking, they have a QR code up there for you, and they want you to make sure that that QR code is legit. So you want to go up there, and if you have something like a key, don't even put your hand on it, because if you put your hand on it and it has some kind of, there's all kind of ways that people are doing things to people. And I don't want to scare you, but don't put your hand on it. Just take like your key or something like that and just rub across the top of it. Make sure that it is truly nothing on top of it, because what they do, the hackers do, they'll take a fake QR code and put it on and paste it on top of there. And then when you're scanning it in to pay for your parking, then what was happening is it was getting redirected somewhere else. And they were not paying for parking. And so when they came outside, not only have they now someone has taken their information, and like you're putting your credit card in their information, you're putting your name, your address. So they're going on at that point, they're going out and they're taking that information and shopping while you're wherever you are. So when you come outside, not only have you already been hacked and not know it, but now your car is booted because you hadn't paid you thought you paid it, but you didn't. You paid it somewhere else. So now your car is booted. Now you got more and more trouble and problems on your hands. So the best way to do is anytime you get a phishing, a QR code, you want to make sure that if you can put your hands on it or something on it, just to make sure that there's nothing on top of it, then just do that and you'll be safe in that way. So there's all kind of tools. Again, like we say, everything you need to be protected, you have to have, it's a holistic approach. So you have multiple ways to protect yourself. So ransomware is the most common. as we've seen already in the chat, someone said that, you know, the Bitcoin was an issue for them. My question to you though, if you see this sign here, this big red sign that says with your personal files are encrypted and will be destroyed if you do not pay your ransomware fee within 24 hours. If you come to your computer, I want you to imagine coming to your computer and then you turn it on and you see this. What do you do? Put it in the chat for me. What would you do at that point? So it's the only thing on your screen. You can't do anything else. So what would you do? Call the police? Okay. What else? Tamay says her things are in the cloud, get a new computer. Anybody else? Reboot, Control Alt Delete. Awesome. So I will go a step further. When you reboot, let's say it's a laptop. You want to make sure, or desktop for that matter, you want to make sure you hold it down totally, especially for laptops, till it goes totally off for a good little period of time until it goes totally off. Then you want to more than likely reach out to someone who can help you to make sure they tell you what the next step should be. But the good thing about it, and you had the great everybody who said reboot or turn it off, that's perfect. That's what you should be doing. So that's what ransomware is. Someone is maliciously having you to click on something, whether it's in a text message, whether it's an email, or they are even more creative nowadays. So now there's also, I want to talk to you about insider threats. So insider threat, I said to you earlier, part of the clients that we support are financial sector. And the reason why we support them is because they are either number 2 that's going to be hacked or number 1, and that's interchangeable throughout the year. And that determines, you know, what all get hacked. So for example, either healthcare industry is number 1 or the financial sector is number 2. And I'm kind of passionate about the financial sector because I personally have been, as I said to you earlier, I've been hacked in a couple of different ways. And in this way that I know of, I want to say this was insider threat. So imagine yourself getting ready to get your taxes done and you have extended it for that year to October. So usually I pay, you know, you have to get your taxes done for businesses, depending on what type of business you have set up. You have to get it done in March. Okay, so I had my tax person, I said, hey, you know, could you please just extend it to October? She said, okay, no problem. So she did that. And when she got ready to file it in October, she said, well, I filed that tax return, but it was rejected. I said, well, why was that? She said, well, I don't know. Let me look into it. She said, did you have someone else to file it for you? I'm like, no, I didn't. So then she took a couple of days. She got back to me. She said, well, IRS is saying that your tax return has already been filed. I was like, what? It's already been filed? I didn't do it. So that in and of itself was, in my opinion, if your accountants or your tax preparers are not keeping your information safe, meaning that they don't have a stack of pile of returns that's somewhere in their office, and any and everybody who works for them or who doesn't work for them can see your private information, such as your social security number, then that's a problem, right? So what I had to do, and the problem with that is I had to prove to the IRS that I was who I am. I had to prove to them that I was the victim and not the one who was doing the bad acting. So that was much of a headache. I had spent hours of my time, days and hours of my time calling in to the IRS, and they were saying, well, you know, asking me all kind of questions. So then eventually, after hours of my time, they said, well, look, how about this? You just come into the office. So I had to drive to the office 2 or 3 times and get a little number that they gave me and sit there and wait to be called by that number. And finally, I get over there and they say, okay, what all information do you have to prove that you are who you are? I had to have all kind of documentation. And this took hours of my time. And then eventually they said, okay, we believe you. But it took them 2 years to believe me. And for 2 years, even though that first year I told them it was hacked, the second year they did the same thing. So the third year they finally say, okay, we believe it. We believe you, and we'll give you a PIN number to file your taxes. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, I think it was an inside job because, I mean, why all of a sudden is my taxes hacked and I've been getting this lady to do my taxes for years. So needless to say, she's no longer my accountant, right? So I want to say that another thing I want to talk about when it comes to cybersecurity attacks, and one that I didn't go over earlier, and that is phishing. Okay, and what that is about voice. Someone is hacking your voice. Everybody know about AI. We talked about it a little earlier. And so what I want everybody to do, if you take nothing else that I say from me today, is this. If someone calls you and they say that they're either it could be your child, they could say it's just aunt, your niece, whoever, any of your relatives, and they tell you, hey, it's an emergency, I need you to do this, this, and this, and this. The thing is it's not them. It could be someone else. They have hacked AI, they've taken AI or any other way, and they have hacked AI by going in and mimicking their voice. So what we want you to do in that scenario is just think about it. I want you to going forward, you and your family members need to have a passcode that you use within. Everybody knows it, right? So you say, okay, if I'm calling you and saying I'm incarcerated and I need you to come and get me out, and I need you to send the money right away, then, and it sounds like me, then what is the passcode? And if they don't know it, then, and they're not going to know it, then you will know that it's not truly me. So that's one thing I want you to make sure you take away from today. DDoS attacks, that's what we mentioned before. It's basically where someone is purposely trying to log into your devices and they're sending multiple attempts to do that. And that's what they call a DDoS attack. So that is very common as well, especially in the business arena. All right, now we're to a point where we're going to do a quick checkup. So I hope everybody is not driving and they're at a place where we can do this together. So my first deal is, can someone tell me, so we have people here that are business owners, and I'm assuming we have some people that may not be business owners. I would like to know someone to volunteer to take a look. I'm going to put this in the chat. And I want you to tell me if you have a business email, meaning that it's at iCareTechGeeks.com, for example, or it's if you just have a personal email that you use for your business. So iCareTechGeeks.com, iCareTechGeeks@gmail.com. You want to make sure that you use the one I just put in, the first one. And then if you have a business, which all of us, the majority of us may, you want to use the second one. So I want someone to volunteer for me and tell me what they see once they complete one of these scans, please. And you can check your personal one out as well, especially if you use it a lot for business. Now, if you've been in business for a year or less, the one for your business may not work as well as if you've been in business for, over 3 to 5 years. You will be able to see what your status is. If your domain itself, meaning whatever your website is that your clients go to see, learn more about you, or whatever your email itself associated with your business, what it entails. Can someone either raise their hand or put in the chat what results they found when they looked this up? Okay, so Lisa says that it indicates business email has not been hacked. Okay, good. That's perfect. Lisa, have you been using this business email address for quite a while?
Yes, for about 5 years.
Okay, great. And it also depends on what industry you're in. You know, if you're in one of the financial or healthcare industry or what have you, that would tend to be, you'll find a lot more. Okay, so looking good so far. We've had some had said that there wasn't any found. Okay, and then we see that 21 data breaches was found, 2 passwords stolen. Okay. So that's good. One not being hacked yet for one of the businesses for Kimberly, and the older business has been hacked. However, Norton LifeLock already alerted me up to that one. Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, now we found out some things to kind of know where to start a little bit. Okay, so now what we want to do is talk a little bit about some of the areas that are compliance driven that I want everybody to consider. So if you're in certain industries, you want to make sure you have certain compliance in place for you, so that part of our motto is preventing businesses from shutting down due to cybersecurity breaches, non-compliance fines, and lawsuits that comes from all of that. So 16 industries are usually affected the most. And some of those industries you see here listed. But the FTC said last year in June, they decided that they want to make sure that things doesn't happen to people such as myself, where the accountant possibly had someone internally to hack, and file taxes in my name. Federal Trade Commissioner, FTC said, hey, let's regulate this a little bit more. We want to get rid of these bad actors who are constantly trying to do bad things to us, people who are trying to have a business and be successful. So, financial sector, I talked to you a little bit about that. As you can see, cybersecurity criminals are always trying to get in and get something that they could sell. And as you can see here, this young man here is looking like, okay, too much. Small businesses included, not just small and mid-sized financial firms are some of the firms that are having the most vulnerability nowadays. Now, I mentioned to you that FTC had these rules. So there's 16 areas here that you'll see that you need to, if you're in any of these industries, or if you know others who are, you want to make sure that you let them know, listen, FTC safeguard rule, they have a rule where you need to make sure that your financial services is what they call each of these areas. You want to make sure if you're CPA, if you're a mortgage broker, if you finance companies, even the companies that you're dealing with personally or professionally, you want to make sure that if you're seeking to find an accountant, for example, and you don't know if they have certain things in place, you can ask them some key questions and they'll be like, oh, how did you know about that? And you say, are you FTC compliant? I want to know if my information is going to be safe. I don't want to have to deal with what Lynette had to deal with 2+ years in a row trying to let the IRS know that she is who she says she is. Any questions so far? I don't want to just keep talking. Any questions that we have thus far? If you want to put it in chat or come off of mute.
I have a question. Okay. This is Tracy Green. All right, I have a business and you know how you showed the red, skeleton look and it says that, you've been hacked and it's ransomware. Now, I'm sure of course, this has happened to many businesses. Now, it doesn't just take a reboot. So, I mean, because realistically, these people have taken control of your data and they want to be paid, realistically. So what is the next step? I mean, are you saying that even when it happened in Georgia, they couldn't reboot they had to deal with the situation. I mean, just like it had in other companies. What are they doing? What are the actual steps? Like, okay, if I'm running a business and somebody has hacked my client's information, what is my next step? Like to ensure that, you know, either I don't want to pay them, but they actually have my data. So what am I doing?
So for great question. Thank you very much for the question, Tracy. So question you're saying is, okay, let's assume that I have gotten hacked. I did see that red sign and I turn it off, but what's next? So if you have already someone that's helping you with your IT and it's not yourself, or
Okay.
then you would obviously, first thing you want to do is call them immediately. And if you do not have someone that helps you with your cybersecurity or your computers or your, anything that you need technology wise, you want to find someone who can help you with that. So
Okay.
there's several steps to it, but usually if you know that you've been hacked and they're trying to get ransomware, you want to make sure that everybody has cybersecurity insurance. I want to say that too. If anybody that you're dealing with, your clients as well as yourself, everybody need to have cybersecurity insurance. If you do not have it, or if you think you have it, you want to go
Okay.
back and check with your
Right.
insurance providers to make sure that you have it and make sure you have the right amount of insurance depending on your industry that you're in. So what is your, if you don't mind sharing, what industry are you in?
Well, actually, I'm going to help other companies with their business products and services. So, I mean, I could easily have information about my clients, what they do, and I don't know how much data I would have, but I can have my clients' data, their information, their phone numbers, and a contract. I mean, that could be contract information. And anything that, of course, anything that we do in business is confidential. So that would be very important to me as a business owner, is that everything I do stays confidential with my clients.
Well, that's interesting you say that. And also that could be a differentiator for you to say, we take security very serious. And you
Right.
could let them know that by the particular ways that you do business with them. But to
Okay.
answer your question, it's several things that needs to take place. Depending on how big it is, the issue it is, you can have forensics has to come in, you have to engage your cybersecurity insurance, you have to call it forensics. They usually have a contact where they will have forensics team come in to see what went wrong, when did it happen, how did it happen, and what was stolen, or if anything, and if it was truly a breach. Sometimes people breach you and it's a fake, right? If you don't pay them, you just don't pay it. I've
Right.
had times where I've had that many years ago, before COVID and everything. I clicked on something on my computer and I was trying to find out something about flowers, and somehow or another, whatever I clicked on, it brought up that screen. And so I literally just turned it off and back on, and I knew it was fake. But see, most people don't know that. They start clicking things. And when you click on something, that's when you allow them in. So there's many aspects to getting it resolved, but it depends on how big it is, or what type of company it is. And then you have to have a way to put in what they call a plan to remediate it, meaning to resolve it. And then your forensics team, all of these teams put together, will be able
Okay.
to even negotiate
Okay.
for you, and you may have to get your attorney involved as well. So there's many aspects.
There's many aspects, because I mean, honestly, I mean, because I can see down the line that there could be, designing, and there could also, be intellectual property involved. And so so are you saying, based on what you do, is that how you would set up your cybersecurity infrastructure?
Correct. So in other words,
Okay.
it's a holistic approach. You want
Okay.
multiple ways. There's no true way of saying, hey, I'm not going to be hacked. If anybody tells
Okay.
you that, if they guarantee you won't be hacked, then you might want to run the other way. But what we can say is we could prevent you as much as possible from being hacked. And if you do get hacked, do
Okay.
you have your data backed up? Meaning your files. Do you have them in the cloud? And if you got them in the cloud, that's not good enough. What if they got to the files that's in the cloud? Do you have them backed
Exactly.
up? So if you
That's
got
where
them
my
backed up,
honestly, I hear people say they got everything in the cloud. Do you know that scares me the most is having stuff in the cloud? Because no, seriously, because I mean, when people are hacking you, I'm sure that's probably where they go first.
right,
You
that's
know,
true. So you just want to have,
okay,
a holistic approach for cybersecurity. You want to
okay,
have backups in place, and the backups
okay,
with the Fulton County incident, their biggest challenge, I assume, based on what was released to us, is that either they had a backup and it wasn't, the biggest thing is you can have a backup, but is the backup working? And if you don't
right.
know that it's not working until after you need it, then that's no good to you either.
Now,
So
is it still true that you should do daily backup so that you can back up, like, so when you do have to do like a system restore, you're backing up to the most current information?
absolutely, yes. And
Okay, all right.
we have a recommendation to 3-2-1. So you're gonna have 3 different types of backups and 2 different mediums, and making sure one of them is not on site versus, the two
Okay, so
of them should
offsite
be
too.
external
Okay.
offsite. Mhm.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. All right, so we'll take a few more questions here shortly. Let's move on. All right, so these are some of the fines that you will have, as Tracy just asked. Let's say that you got fined, and now will the FTC come out to you and see you beforehand? No, they're not going to do that. But when you get hacked, that's whenever they do a fine-tooth comb and they start seeing, okay, did you have these things in place? Did you have these 9 rules in place? No. Okay, so then we're going to fine you $10,000 each record we see that you didn't have protected. That's just an example. So this is what you see here. All right. So that goes back to what I was saying. They won't enforce it proactively, but that's what we try to do with our clients. And we try to tell others, we want to be proactive, not reactive. So these are 9 components that you have to have in place. I'm going to go through these quickly. You have to have a qualified individual to make sure that they're having, FTC safeguard compliance. You want to conduct a risk assessment to see what's going on in your environment on a regular basis. You want to apply for the compliant cybersecurity controls. You want to put those into place. You want to have cybersecurity controls, such as you want to make sure that you have the 5 through 9. You want to make sure that your service provider. So for example, if we have people who are helping us with social media and they're no longer helping us, are you taking into account that you offboard them officially? Meaning that they're no longer able to get in your systems. And if you're not, that's one thing you want to start making sure you're doing. You want to make sure that anybody who's servicing you, they're no longer servicing you, that you get them out of your systems. And the reason why I bring that up is I'm pretty sure years ago, everybody heard about Target being hacked. Well, most people said, well, Target is a large business. You're talking about small businesses. Well, Target has access to smaller businesses, and Target used smaller business to come in and do some work for them for the HVAC. So whenever they used that vendor, they completed their work, left, and I don't know how long it was later, but it was maybe, it definitely wasn't immediately, but much later, they forgot to turn off the systems to the service provider that helped them. And as a result, that's the reason why they got hacked and had that major breach. So you want to make sure that you have various things in place, and you want to make sure you have also, Tracy, an incident response plan in place. Okay, so when it happens, and I said when, not if, what do you have in place? What are your next steps? So that's what the rest of these rules are. All right, so we know that there's a risk. We know that we need to make sure that we have a holistic approach. So some of the solutions that we offer and we ask our clients and just even individuals to have in place, okay? Not just business. Password preventions. So passwords, there is a statistic that says that every person, we're human, right? We usually use the same password, and we usually use about 5 of them across the board everywhere. And so if you got a business, if you personal, if you work for a job or all three, then that's 3 sets of passwords right there that you're using everywhere. And you want to make sure that you're not using the exact same password anywhere. And this here password, what we want to say here is, most importantly, is use password phrases. Okay, change them out every 3 to 6 months. Don't forget the passwords to certain devices in your household that you never thought about that you need to change. So if you gotta, everybody had usually work from home in one way or another at some point or another. So if you're working from home for your job, for your business, anything, you want to make sure that the router that you got from whoever, AT&T, for example, we talked about them, or whoever your routers are through, you want to make sure that you go in and change the admin password, the local one. Because if you don't, I can go online, and anybody can go online and look up default passwords for your routers, even for your printers. You want to make sure you change those items, because if you don't, then these bad actors, they will get in one way or another, and then they're in and you don't know it. So that's what we say about passwords. Okay, these are bad passwords and good passwords. So a lot of us, we also have a habit. We're creatures of habits. We want to say, okay, well, I got a sophisticated password, and I'm gonna just give you this advice: a hack to a hack, right? So you say, well, I created a password and I keep changing it, the number at the end. Okay, that's easy for hackers. So you want to not do that. Okay, you say, well, I got a password manager. Okay, a credential manager. Okay, great. Well, how do we know that they can't get hacked? Well, you don't know, but you can put some things into place so that if you were to get hacked, then what would you have in place? You could change the password. Your credential managers, they create passwords for us. And you could, a little hack that I do is I always change some of the letters in there and put my own in there. So that's one way to kind of get around it giving you maybe the same thing to other people.
Lynette, I want to interrupt you real quick because we're coming up on the end and there are 2 questions in the chat that I want to make sure get answered.
Okay, I thought we had till 12:30. Is that not correct?
Oh, no, to 12.
Oh, I was told 12:30. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay, then I might have been wrong. I had it till 12 and but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I guess. Okay, no problem. Well, which is it though? Because then I'll wrap on up if it's now.
I had it to 12, but if y'all had something different, the people in the chat, if you could drop in the chat what you had it until, and so we could get this timing sorted.
No problem. So while they're doing that, I'll go ahead and show you, these are some examples of the ones credential management we recommend. Let's see what we're saying here. Okay, 12:30. Okay.
Okay, cool. All right. Well then,
Okay.
12:30 it is.
I got a little bit more time. Okay, so
Yep,
that's what I
we
was
got some more
planning.
time.
Okay. All right. So these are some credential managers, and I call them credential managers. You notice I didn't say password managers because they don't just put passwords in it. You can create all kind of credentials in it, and it's good for you to have something where you can put in tax returns, something where you can put in any kind of personal information that you don't want anyone else to see, and you can have even your IDs in it, your credit card information in it. So these are credential managers that we recommend and that we also make sure that we implement with our. Okay, no problem, Leonard. Thank you, Leonard, for coming. We'll be in touch. Okay, so that's for that. I want to show you a couple of things. When you go to the internet, there's a little lock that you should see beside, depending on which browser you're in, whether it's Edge, whether it's Google Chrome, whether it's Firefox, you should see something similar to this, okay, beside it. And I want to make sure that and this is more of a better view of it, you want to make sure that it doesn't say this, security breach. When you click on that link, it should not say it's not secure. It should say it's secure, okay? So that's one thing I want you to make sure when you go into websites and it's not secure, I don't care what type of site it is, you can report it to them and let them know, but I will come out of it immediately. Multi-factor authentication. How many here are familiar with what that is? You can put yes in the chat if you are, no if you're not. Okay, great. All right, so for those who are not, it seems like everybody is. Okay, great. So I don't have to explain it. So basically you want to make sure you have it in place on any types of websites or any type of apps that you're going to, if at all possible, especially for your banking. All right, cybersecurity positive discussion. So based on everything we discussed, I want to know how many people here have the following already in place, or after today, you will get it in place. So MFA, multi-factor authentication, encryption, dedicated firewall, credential managers. These are things that we suggest that you have in place. Business and professionally. So again, as I said before, when, if not, not if you or your business get hacked, what's next? Do you or your business allocate a specified budget for cybersecurity? And again, remember about the cybersecurity insurance. Make sure you have that in place. All right, so one of the suggestions we have is the first thing to do is to have a cybersecurity risk assessment test done. We call it a pen test. And what it is it's basically an email that we sent out to you mimicking a cybersecurity attack. And you will click on that link, and then it will determine, what's going on. You put that on a couple of computers. If you only have one, you just run it on one computer, and then it'll let us know where you are. These are some of the services that we offer: cybersecurity focused, proactive IT tech support, virtual CIO and CSO, IT help desk services. So we're a holistic approach. So whatever you need, we could either help you ourselves, or we have partners that we've formed alliance with for. And what we've given you is a peace of mind, minimal downtime, and we reduce your risk. You have predictable costs with us, and sometimes we can increase your productivity. Like, let's say you already have Microsoft Office, but you need some extra training on different ways to be more productive for you and your team. We do that as well. So any questions? Now we have the official question and answer section. And we'll go over those questions and answers for you. And then here is your gift area for today. So if you want to go and grab that right quick. I know people had a hard stop at 12 because they thought it was to 12. So the top one, as a way of saying thank you for joining today, this top one here, I want you can just scan this. It is legit. It is not a phishing. It is a legitimate QR code. I promise you, without phishing you or quishing you, I should say. So just go ahead on and take a screenshot of that, or you can have this link here if you want to just write this down, take a screenshot of that, and you have to type it in just the way you see it. If you want to take part in what we have, you still can get the complimentary items. And if you're ready to get a paid assessment, that's what we'll do. And then somebody who's here and still in attendance, they win one of our sessions, IT paid assessments. Now, by the way, you can research this. And if you go out on the internet and you research and just Google pen test, you will see that there's all kind of costs. They range anywhere from $4,000 and up. It could be $10,000, $20,000. They range all the way up to high amounts. So what we're doing today, we're doing just for us. We have we're giving you basically a $2,500 value pen test assessment. So we'll assess what you have going on. And I will let Tamay, figure out how we're gonna do that piece and do the giveaway.
Okay.
Okay, so while we're going through this, I want to ask one little small question. Now, of course, everybody will have contracts with their clients. Somewhere in that contract, should it be something in here about cybersecurity like what we provide, what the expectations would be, because, you know, in the event something happening, you know, and we have already signed a contract, and if it's nothing in there, you know, then can somebody sue us? So is it something in the contract, there should be something about the, you know, cybersecurity, or no?
Yes, it should be cybersecurity in there. You should say something within your policy somewhere. You know, most of us have general liability insurance.
Right.
For us in the IT industry, we have what we call errors and omissions, and
Mhm.
every policy is different. You know,
Okay.
I can't say I know, you know, every aspect of it, but I can say that, you know, we partner with others who could help you to determine, you know, and review your policy to see if it will be up to par, or if you don't have it at all, we could have them to give you a quote to add it for you.
Right. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other questions? I think you said, Tamay, we had some other ones in here that I missed earlier. Trying to look at it on here. And if everybody has this, I can stop sharing my screen. Let me know if everybody has captured this. And it's best to do it on a computer, by the way, because the documents that you'll be able to download, it's best to do it on a computer. Okay, we do have a winner. Everybody's ready? Drum roll, please. Mr. J. David Smith is the winner. Yay! And it must be present to win. So Jay, okay. So Jay, if you don't mind, just direct message me your information, please. Okay, I see it's a question about what software and or websites do you recommend for scanning laptops, desktops to detect malware and other threats? Lisa, again, it's a holistic approach. There, you would see things on TV where they're talking about Sentinel-1. So that's an enterprise software that we use for our clients. And they call it in our industry EDR. So it's not just antivirus, it's endpoint, what they call it endpoint detection response. So, and what an endpoint is your device. So what that does is that allows it to not only just us to check to make sure that there's nothing going on in the scan, but on a regular basis, it's monitoring your actions to know that if something happens that you normally wouldn't do, like let's say you're deleting a bunch of files one day, well, that's not normal. So, and depending on the files that you're deleting, then it would detect that and it would detect for ransomware and things like that. So Sentinel-1 is one, and usually you have to have a provider to provide that. There's others out there. What's the other one? So you have Nord Security, NORD Security, and that one, they have a VPN services. You may have seen the advertisement of that online as well on the TV. They usually have that on there. If there's anything else that you need on that, let me know, Lisa, if that answered your question for me, please, in the chat.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions? Because I can give y'all back some more of your time.
All right, all right. Well, I guess since I see no more questions, one, they know how to contact you. So as soon as we end this, if they have a question, they can reach out to you. But I appreciate everyone showing up today. This will be shared as a video. I think it takes about 2 to 3 days, and it'll be on ABC's YouTube. So you can check there and it'll be there. Yes, drop your information in chat so y'all can network. this MCAT is a part of the Atlanta Black Chambers. If you are not a member, this is an organization that will help you grow your business as well as give you community information and resources that you need. The MCAT, Marketing, Communications, Advertising, and Tech Subcommittee, is a committee for us professionals where we get together, we put on webinars like this, but also we're planning a lot of cool events. So if you want to join us, just reach out to me, Tamay, Shannon, and I will drop my information on the chat. But if there aren't any questions, our next webinar is June 27th at 11 a.m. You'll start seeing that happening on the Eventbrite page. Thank y'all for sharing your information. I'm seeing it pop up. Yay. Love the networking. But since there aren't any more questions, we will release you, give you back your time. Please, please, please enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy not being hacked anymore.
Are you able to stop the recording?